Righty, round two of Super Rugby this weekend, starting Friday morning. Friday morning for you Europeans, and we have the Hurricanes up against Moana Pasifika in Wellington. Moana Pasifika fresh off a first round win, opening their campaign nicely against Rd2, and the Hurricanes will be lining up for their first game of the season. So, going to be interesting to see how these teams perform, especially Wellington, given it's their first game of the season. We saw, the New Zealand teams, especially on the weekend in round one, underperforming, pretty rusty, a lot of drop ball, that type of thing. So I would expect something similar from the Hurricanes, if I'm being honest. And yeah, I guess we'll find out with Moana how they're going to get on as well, because they've made a ton of changes for this game, which I'm in two minds in why they would have done that. But let's get into the teams right now. Alrighty, so Moana Pacifica with 7 debutants lined up in their team sheet for this weekend. Tana Umanga has said that if the team is going to get through the whole of the season, and make it through the whole season, then he needs everyone contributing and to give everyone given a chance and into, I guess, being match ready. So that is why he has decided to go with 7 debutants and chuck them all in the deep end this weekend. But up against a Hurricanes team who hasn't had a game yet, it's actually not a bad idea. The last thing you want to be doing is blooding a whole bunch of players later in the season when teams are hitting their straps. The intensity's gone up, and it's going to be a lot harder to get wins. So potentially catching the Hurricanes flat-footed this weekend, and it seems like a good idea to give a couple of the young guys a run, although 7 is quite an amount, especially when you look at their whole sort of lineup this weekend. Even putting the fact that 7 of them haven't played a Super Rugby game before, you've also got a couple of the experienced guys who are not in that team. And the captain, Miracle Whailangi, the key, I guess, player that's not in that starting lineup. He's been moved to the bench, and that is a bit of a weird one for me. You'd expect when you do have a bunch of younger players playing in their first game that you would want the captain out there, directing them around, helping them adjust and giving them a bit more direction, especially, a guy like Miracle, who was so instrumental last week in Moana getting the win. I don't take this lightly, but he was he was in sort of an Ardy mold last weekend. The way he just took that game by the scruff of the neck, just super hard to stop. Ran in 3 tries. Maybe they have their new Ardy Savea this year as a guy who's going to help carry this team into the playoffs. But yeah, he's not playing this weekend. He's on the bench. Looking at the team as a whole, the only real player of note that I know of really is Patrick Pellegrini, who has kept his spot at 10, which is good, because you do need a guy at 10 with a bit of experience being able to direct his team around the park. Moley in there at hooker, who assumes the captaincy, had a spell on the weekend and was pretty decent as well. But the bench, Alan Craig, had a good game last weekend at lock. Miracle Whailangi, as we spoke about, William Havili, Tavita Ofa, all these guys had good games on the weekend and are not in the starting lineup. So you never know, though. As I said, Hurricanes might be a little bit cold, a little bit off the boil, and if you in a situation like that, you tend to get closer, tight-knit games, maybe going into the second half when you bring on the Whailangi, Havili, Tavita Ofa, these sort of guys. That's when you're going to see, a push. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see as well. But that is the Moana team, and let's have a look at the Hurricanes. Righty, so looking at the Hurricanes team for the game on Friday, Um, Headlined by Warner Dearns, who is a returning New Zealander. I believe he's a Wellingtonian. Now the captain of the Japanese national team. He is debuting in Super Rugby, taking a sabbatical from Japanese rugby. Big boy locking down for the Hurricanes this season. Uh, some interesting things about this All Black, this Hurricanes team. So starting in the front row, we've got Asafo Mua, who is back. He missed basically the entire All Black season with injury. Yeah, he's had a rough time with injuries lately, but he is back at hooker and he looks like an absolute monster, as you can see from the graphic there. Um, he's in the middle of Xavier Numia and Siale Lawaki. So Lawaki's a young fella, young and up and coming prop. So it'll be nice to see him get some game time. Maybe give Laidlaw some food for thought before guys like Tyrell Lomax and Basilio Tosi return to the team. Um, Super powerful back or loose forward duo. You've got Peter Lakai in at 7. That's because Karifi is injured. I think he's got a calf injury out for 2 weeks. So Lakai's moved to 7 from 8. You've got Brandon Yossi at 8 and Devin Flanders at 6. So with even without Karifi, yeah, you lose a pretty important player at the breakdown, but Brandon Yossi is no slouch, and to bring him in there, you really aren't losing too much. We know how good Peter Lakai is. He's basically the All Black starting 8 now. So yeah, pretty strong forward pack for the Hurricanes. In the back line, running the show is Brett Cameron. Ruben Love has injured himself. He rolled his ankle in training. There was a little bit of concern that it was going to rule him out for quite a long time, but it seems that it's only going to be for 4 to 6 weeks. So, it's probably it's not the worst case scenario. And the only, the big downside for Ruben Love here is that by all accounts, he wanted that 10 jersey at the Hurricanes, and it wouldn't have surprised me if he was starting there this weekend. And, you know, it's just you kind of wanted to see him get some game time at that 10 jersey and try to establish himself there, and stamp his mark on that jersey for the rest of the season, lock it down almost, because Brett Cameron is a good player, and now he's got the opportunity to take that. It's always hard to put someone back in a team in a position where you know the player that you're potentially taking out has done nothing wrong and is playing well. So you know, hopefully Love comes back stronger and he's able to make a dent in that team and get himself back in there. Um, Otherwise, you've got Geordie Barrett there. He's back from his sabbatical in Leicester. He's there at 12, and he's the captain alongside Baden Sullivan. And then you've got a really strong back three. Um, Fehi Fenina Gonofo and Josh Morby. Sorry, I butchered Fehi's name there. It is a tough one. And Callum Harkin at 15. So Callum Harkin, I think he's got a big future ahead. He's a really good 15. So looking excited to see what he can do this year. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Hurricanes. Like I said, really strong team. Imagine that they do some good stuff this year. Um, Again, they've got lots of players to come back. I mean, even you just look at their bench as well. Apart from Pitaya and Polico, who are debutants, who are part of the Hurricanes wider group, they might get their chance this weekend. Apart from them, the rest of the bench is very experienced. Devry, Raketi Stones, Tavita Mafaleo was in the All Blacks wider squad. Last season, just didn't get a game. Brad Shields, obviously ex-England international and been around the Hurricanes for years. Cam Roigard, we know how good Cam Roigard is. The game will change when he gets injected from the bench, and then obviously Billy Proctor there as well. And I mean, you look at the injuries: Duplessis, Karifi, Delaney, Walker, Leweri, Godfrey, Love, Timu, Noholo. So yeah, just incredible amounts of depth in this team, and at some point they will be at full strength, I imagine, this season, and they will be one to watch out for. So yeah, that is the Hurricanes team. And the Moana team, it's looking like, it wouldn't surprise me if Moana was able to jag something here. I know they've got a bunch of debutants, a really weakened team, but if there's ever time to beat someone, it's when they're, their first game of the season caught flat-footed. We saw what happened with the Highlanders and the Crusaders last week. I still expect the Hurricanes to win. It's probably going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I don't think there's going to be any rain in Wellington, but you never know. It's going to be windy, so it's Wellington. So, but yeah, I would imagine seeing like 40, like a score like 40-26 or something like that. Pretty high scoring. But yeah, just hope everyone gets through uninjured, and we see some good tries and some good running rugby. Guys, thank you very much as always. If you like the content I'm putting out, please like and subscribe. And comments. I love the comments. I love hearing other people's opinions and debating. That is what being a sports fan is all about. Um, yeah, I'll have a couple more videos out with the rest of the rounds games over the next day or so. So watch out for those. And if you haven't already, have a look at the Ruck and Puck Vibe 15 video that I put out on Tuesday. It's a weekly segment that I'm doing. It's basically an All Black team picked solely on form. It's going to be a rolling sort of a team. It's not a team of the week. Players will accrue points and they'll move in and out of the team. As I said, it's picked on form. Reputation and experience count for nothing in the Vibe 15. So watch out for that one and follow along so that, at the end of the Super Rugby season, and the All Blacks team gets named, we can sort of look at the two and hopefully see a bit of overlap because, we all want the All Blacks to pick players based on form as well as reputation, right? Anyway, that's it from me, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.